this is the beginning of my countertop installation planning, speculating, figuring it out. Never done granite countertop. I've watched the professionals install them. So I have a few concerns, anxieties, if you will. Anyway, let me show you what I got and what I'm thinking and what I'm going to try to do. And again, first time doing it. Maybe my concerns aren't an issue, and or maybe they are. Maybe there's things I haven't thought of, but here we go. But here's the other thing. I have two pieces of granite. Like I said, they were inexpensive, $150 a piece. So they're 1.5 inches at the nosing at the front, but that's only 2 inches, and then it comes back to 3/4. So with my layout, they're 109 inches long, which is plenty of lineal feet for all the cabinets I have here, countertops. The problem is where to break the seam, because this one here is longer than 109 inches. So, what to do? You can't, the dishwasher goes here. You can't put a seam here. And you don't want a straight seam too close to the sink opening. So, with all that, what I've decided to do is take a piece of 3/4 inch plywood and cover the whole top right across. That way it bridges over all these openings. Because I think I'm going to have to do my seam right here in the middle, right here where the sink opening is. I know that's kind of risky for weight, but I feel like with my plywood, if I got 3/4 inch plywood underneath, that should support it. The seam will be minimal, 2.5 inches front to back. And yeah, I think that should work. The other issue is when you consider this opening here for when you cut out the sink. I got my sink, it's basically about, what is it? It's like 22, I'll show you, it's right here. That's the dimension. It is, yeah, it says here, 33 by 22. So that's when you look at the picture, you know, the outside dimension. So the hole is just a little smaller, and really only about 3/4 of an inch smaller than the opening. So a lot of the weight is going to be here on the front. But you need is, you know, it's tight. That hole is going to be 1/2 inch away from this face. So what I'm thinking, this is quite a long span, and I'd like to beef this up as much as possible. We will have that 24-inch piece of plywood is just going to end right here. So I'd like to catch it on something. So I marked where the clips go for the sink, because that's always a hassle. If I just leave, so I'm going to put a 1/2 inch piece of plywood, actually, just as a cleat for that plywood, just for that weight. I'm hoping the plywood takes the weight instead of the marble, so that we don't have any issues with the weight on the seams front to back. That's the plan anyway. Just wanted to show you where I'm at. I've put cleats where I think they're needed. I've ripped my plywood to 2 feet. Well, cut it in half basically. So that's how that's going to sit. Now this has got a 2-inch double, so this should sit out about 1.5 inches beyond here, 1.25 inches, and I've set this back. So this is about just a little over 1 inch on this side. Now I just want to show you, so that's where my eat feet breaks, which I think is good for bridging everything there. All right, so I added a cleat here, as you can see. I've added just a 1/2 inch piece here because that's all I can afford with the opening for the sink. I even left out little slots. See if the clips will work there. Sometimes that won't even work. Sometimes I might have to notch into here, but at least that's a start. The other thing I did here was I added this cleat, and that was only because I had a little bit of a rock here. Everything right across here was pretty flat, except here it just kind of rocked down just a little bit. So I had to come up probably, I don't know, 1/16 to 1/8. You tell me. So I think I'm good. All right, there we go. Now all we have to do is apply some granite. I like to think that was the easy part. Cabinets all prepped and ready to go for the granite installation. Now, I've had my granite here, it's outside. And just to, you can see it over there up against the wall. So a couple of concerns. Yeah, can I cut it? Get the hole right so the sink fits, get the seam right so it looks good, and do all that without it breaking. That's my challenge. So stay tuned. Let's see what transpires. Okay, you can see I'm all set up here. Got my where I want to cut. I'm using the straight edge. Just in case there's scratches involved here, I put tape down for the bed of the saw. I had bought a new diamond blade, but I realized I have one here. Now the only other thing I want to do is I probably want to run some water on this. So I've got the first cut done, and not too bad. I'm a little concerned the blade did seem to want to waver off, and I think the blade heats up and starts warping as it spins. But I think between this end and that end, because there's only going to be about 2 inches here touching, the rest is going to be the cutout where it kind of wavers off. But that's what I get for doing the first cut on a place that's going to be a seam. So anyway, I'm going to dry this off and take it inside and just see how it lays down onto the countertop. Okay, so I've just got the piece I cut set into place, and just a few observations, some positive and negative observations. First of all, I like the look. I think the granite goes, it's pretty generic looking, but it goes. I like how it lays in with the margins I left. Well, it's, you know, back wall is pretty straight, and even though we will have a backsplash there to cover if there is any wave in the wall. But I'm critical of my cut, but I can see that's out of square, and that's going to be critical. The other thing is, look at as my blade came through, it's flanged out a little bit. But I think I can, I'm going to just take my side grinder with my diamond blade and see if I can square that up. Changed the blade. I put the new blade on, which was a much thicker, heavier duty blade, so I think it held its straight line better. Seems to have cut without chipping, and it did seem to help to run the water on it, keep things cool. Cut faster, cleaner. Yeah, so anyway, I think I got that right. Let's carry that in and see what it looks like. Slide it into place here. tight against the wall. I knew it's a little out of square here, but that's fine. I got my backsplash. This is where I'll have opportunity to polish that end there. That seems pretty good. And then my length, I was shooting for that little black mark. I think we're good with that. If need be, I can slide it this way. So yeah, I'm happy with that. Okay, so our last cut from that piece is this one. Ooh, that doesn't look good. What happened? I thought it was long. Oh, I am. Okay, I got some space there. Alright, let me make the adjustment. Hung up over here, so that slid in real nice. And other than that, I'll figure that out. But the spacing's right, and then the 30-inch opening is right, so we're good. If only it was finished. Looks finished though, doesn't it? But so I just carried it in and set it on. Here's my seam. I think I'm going to be able to deal with that. Yeah, so I carried that in myself. I thought I was going to have to go call for help, but I managed. Okay, so now the big trick is to get this sink cut out. So we see we get the sink base there. We're going to center that right here in the middle. So I've got my sink here. I'm going to use this as my layout. And I have no problems with the cutting of this. It's just, can I cut it without breaking it? That's the question. So let's see what happens. So now I've centered the sink on the two pieces of granite. I've traced the outline. The last thing I'm doing is I'm just marking, actually right on the countertop, what the flange is. I'm putting a straight edge on it and marking it out here. I tried it the other way, where you mark around it and you try to do your margin. You never quite get the margin right. So this way I know just where it is. I'm using a sink instead of trying to space it. Okay, so I think we're ready to mark the inside. Now that I got my lines, just take this, you can see it. I have the outside mark. Since I put these other marks on here, I can just draw these. Okay. So there's the layout. I think my margins look pretty good. Okay, I'm hoping I've got my cutting done. So I've got my big piece. I cut it in the house as much as I didn't want to with the dust and all, but I really didn't want to risk that piece there is real delicate. So I just kind of slid it, cut it in place, create all kinds of dust, used the fan. I took this one outside because I can handle it, and I also slid them in place and scribed the plywood. As you can see, the sink is just set in the hole of the plywood. So well, we know the plywood will hold the sink, but now we'll see if the granite, I think it will, because it's got some play there. Anyway, so now the question is, what do I glue it down with? So, yeah, let's see if we can get the stuff into place. So here it is, dry fit, got the cut. I like the seam. I guess it's just this here that maybe when you epoxy, because it's not, or shim it. Same in the back. But I think when we start gooping it up, that'll all work out. Okay, this is the second day of my granite countertop installation. So, as you saw, we have everything in place. We just need to cut the backsplash, and I'm going to polish some of these edges. So it's really, this isn't seen too much, but I think it'd be good if it kind of rounded it a little bit. Wouldn't hurt to polish, as well as this edge here. And then I'm going to cut backsplash, so there'll probably be an end for here, and some of these other ones. So So now that I have all my pieces cut up and sized, I'm polishing the edges that need to be polished. And I get this little kit here. Gives me all the sizes from 50, it goes 50, 150, 300, 500, 1,000. Right now I have on the something between probably 2,000. And I've been doing this edge here. You know, I've never sanded stone before. It's really quite impressive how nicely. I just took each one of those, passed it a couple times, and I think it's shinier than this actually, probably because they didn't do as much. I probably could just leave it at that. So I'm going to do all that with the polisher. Okay, so the last thing I got to do is epoxy this joint. I've been using this product called Lock Rocket Gel, and you're supposed to use equal parts. Actually, I've been using a piece of glass. It seems to clean up nicely. Doesn't stick as much onto it. So I just basically scoop in, like I said, it's a gel. So I try to just scoop what looks like an even. And I clean off my knife because I'm going to scoop into this one, and if I put the other into this, then I'll have trouble. So there we go. Put my lids back on. And then I just mix this. I knead it up. It's the same epoxy I used on the other seam. So you can see it's like a paste. So it's going to be workable. It's not like a liquid that's going to run out. Okay. This time I've taped my seam, as you can see, and that way I'm going to have less cleaning of all this. I'm just going to push it in, try to get it in as far as possible. Probably should have squeezed it in there. Had some ready when I put the pieces together, but so I pulled the tape. That was pretty straightforward, other than the fact it did pull some paint off there, and it's set up because I've been touching my mix, and I just kind of run my blade up and down it just to get it flat. And any excess that may have gone over the tape on the sides. This is pretty clean. So that's it. Looks pretty good there, doesn't it? So there we go. Got the countertops finished without any of those anticipated problems. Thankfully, right? Didn't have anything break that we didn't want to break. The layout worked out for us. So just kind of a quick look over. You know, we see here a little bit of, there's no edge, but when that range goes in, I slid it in, it fits nice and tight. So you're not really going to see it, though I did polish the edge just so it wouldn't be sharp. Now here's some of the drawback on this stone here. We got little spots like this. That's some kind of filler. And I knew that. But again, this is an economy granite job. Amateur. Me, the amateur, but I think for the durability, the way it cleans, hopefully I think it's going to hold up better than plastic, or some people like tile. I never liked that. Okay, well this wraps up our episode of how to do economy granite tops, amateur granite tops. Though I think in the end, I'm quite happy with them. I'm happy with the price. Just to go over what it cost, I had $30 into plywood, I had $15 into caulking, $13 into adhesive, $25 into the cutting blades that I used to cut this. I had $25 into the polisher, and I had $40 into the epoxy to do these little seams. So that brings, oh, and then of course the granite itself, which was $150 per piece. I had 2 pieces, that's $300. So I think that comes to about $440 for my granite pots. I'm happy with that. That's probably half of what I thought I was going to spend, and I learned something along the way too. So hopefully you learned something. Appreciate you watching, subscribing, and talk to you later.